on August 23, 1305. He'd led a rebellion that shook the heart of England. So why did the English crown choose the most brutal method to silence him? Scotland in the late 13th century, a land torn between loyalty to England and a desire for independence. The Scottish Highlands were a crucible of rebellion. William Wallace would rise from these mountains to challenge the English crown. William Wallace, a farmer turned warrior, led a surprise attack at Stirling Bridge in 1297. His victory shattered English control over southern Scotland. For a time, Wallace ruled as Guardian of Scotland, a title not by choice, but by necessity. Edward I of England, known as the Hammer of the Scots, saw Wallace as a threat to his dominion. The English king launched campaigns to crush Scottish resistance. Wallace's forces were outnumbered but unbroken, for now. Edward I swore to hunt Wallace like a beast. His edicts offered rewards for Wallace's capture, a promise that would haunt the Scottish hero. But Wallace continued to strike, burning English castles and rallying the clans. Wallace became a symbol of defiance. His name echoed through the Highlands and Lowlands. Yet his victories were temporary. A storm was gathering on the horizon. By 1305, Wallace's forces were dwindling. The English had captured his allies, and allies of his allies. Scotland's leader had no choice but to flee, into the hands of the enemy. August 23, 1305, Smithfield, London. Wallace stood bound, a man who had defied an empire. The executioner's axe gleamed in the midday sun. This was not a judicial killing. It was a spectacle. Crowds gathered to witness the death of Scotland's most hated man. Wallace was dragged through the streets, his body a symbol of English power. The crowd's jeers were drowned by the clang of iron and the crack of wood. The executioner's hands tightened on the rope. Wallace's body was hauled upward, his limbs stretched in agony. This was not swift death. It was a slow public humiliation designed to break the spirit of a nation. Edward I's message was clear. No man, not even a king, could defy the English crown. Wallace's body was displayed on a gibbet, a warning to all who dared rise against England. The execution was a statement of power. As the sun set over London, Wallace's body was left to rot. His flag, the saltire, remained a symbol of Scottish resistance. The English had won this battle, but the war was far from over. Wallace's death did not end the Scottish struggle. His execution only fueled the fire of rebellion. The English had silenced a man, but they had not silenced a nation. Wallace's story became legend. His death was not the end of Scottish independence. It was the beginning of a new chapter. The Stone of Destiny, once a symbol of English rule, would one day be reclaimed. Centuries later, Wallace's name was etched into Scottish history. His defiance inspired generations of Scots to fight for their freedom. His execution was not a victory for England, it was a rallying cry. The Scottish Wars of Independence raged on. Wallace's death did not break the will of the Scottish people. The fight for independence would take decades, but it was never forgotten. Wallace's legacy endured in songs, in stories, in the hearts of Scots. His name became synonymous with courage and sacrifice. The English had tried to erase him, but they could not erase his memory. Today, Wallace's story is preserved in museums and monuments. His execution is remembered not as a tragedy, but as a turning point. Scotland's fight for independence was far from over. The saltire still flies over Scotland. Wallace's legacy is a reminder that freedom is not given, it is fought for. His death was not the end of the story, it was the beginning of a new Scotland. Join us as we uncover more untold stories of courage and sacrifice. Subscribe for the next chapter.